Joining us live now is Associate Professor and Director of the Kevorkian Centre for Near Eastern Studies at NYU, Mohamad Bazzi. Good evening to you, Mohamad. So what's your take on Mr Mamdani and his first day of office?
I think there's a lot of excitement in New York. Mamdani taking office. You could see that in the numbers of people who went out in the extreme cold yesterday on January 1st for the inauguration, the public inauguration. City Hall was mobbed by people who wanted to get into especially the block party that was around the inauguration festivities. There's just there's excitement about a new page, a new era in New York, and a lot of excitement over his affordability agenda. He's been very focused on these issues of affordability throughout the campaign and now in his first day and a half in office.
He told his voters that he promises to provide free childcare, freezing rents, free bus fares. How can this be achieved economically, for example?
A lot of this is going to cost money and possibly raise taxes. And he's not able to raise most taxes. He'll need support from the governor of New York State and the state legislature for quite a few of these programs, especially the getting funding for free childcare, universal childcare. In terms of freezing the rents, that's something that's a little more under his purview. And here we're not talking about all rents in New York City. He's specifically focused on rent-stabilized apartments and rent-controlled apartments. But so we're talking about 1.5 million units, which is a large percentage of the housing stock. And he, as the mayor, appoints many members of the board that oversee that process every year, the process of setting the rent guideline. And he's promised a freeze of that for the next few years to help with affordability. But a lot of this is not under his control, and he needs to work with the governor and the state legislature.
So are people then questioning why he promised that when he was, going in to be the mayor, if it's not under his control?
So, all mayors of New York, previous mayors, have promised different elements of this. Bill de Blasio, the mayor before Eric Adams, made universal childcare a centerpiece of his campaign. The mayor of the city doesn't control a lot of legislative capabilities that are under this purview of the state, especially that tricky question of taxation. I think what a lot of New Yorkers were excited about with Mamdani throughout the campaign is that focus on affordability and local issues. He really zeroed in on these questions of quality of life and the affordability of life in New York. And that's something he found, certainly with President Trump voters who were in the presidential election, really focused on the cost of living, high inflation, and these bread and butter issues that resonated with voters.
And what is your reaction on Israel accusing the mayor of pouring anti-Semitic gasoline on an open fire?
I think it's the first day. It's his first day in office. The executive order, as you pointed out in your report, the executive order that he signed undid quite a few executive orders that Mayor Adams had signed. Mamdani decided to set this point, after which Eric Adams was indicted by federal prosecutors, which is reasonable considering the history of back and forth between Mayor Adams and President Trump basically pressuring the Justice Department to drop that investigation into the mayor. And the Israeli government has chosen to go after Mamdani on his first day in office. I don't think a lot of New York voters are paying a lot of attention to this at this point. We're talking about Mamdani's the mayor of New York. He's not the mayor of Tel Aviv or the mayor of Jerusalem. And there's been a lot of effort to bring Israel and to bring the Middle East into this New York politics. Obviously, there's a very large Jewish population in New York. There's also a large, not quite as large, but a significant Muslim population, and there's a Palestinian population. So there are constituencies and communities that do care deeply about the Middle East. But he really ran a campaign focused on local issues.
All right, we've got to wrap it up. But Mohamad, really appreciate you joining us, and good evening to you.
Thank you for having me.